Frances Bavier was an award-winning actress that we all came to know as Aunt Bee on the Andy Griffith Show. By most accounts of her life, she was the absolute opposite of the way she was on the show. She was not a domesticated lady that loved housework and cooking. She was more of a sophisticated lady that had resided in New York and Los Angeles her entire life, and had worked with some really esteemed actors like Bette Davis and Henry Fonda. Her most of her career was spent on Broadway until she became famous with her role as Aunt Bee. And then she went on after the Aunt Bee role and was on Mayberry RFD. And then in 1970, she abruptly walked away from it. At age 70, she moved all the way across the United States to Siler City, North Carolina. She did this in hopes of discovering a small-town goodness that she herself had become the person that represented that in the minds of Middle America. Naturally, she was warmly received by the county of Chatham and its 3,700 residents in the town of Siler City. And these plain folks gave her a role to play there as soon as she arrived. She was a grand marshal in a lot of parades. She was honored at different civics functions. And she was often seen driving her green two-door Studebaker around the town. And this is the same one that was in the show Mayberry RFD. She moved into her house at 503 West Elk Street in Siler City. But it wasn't long after she moved to this location that she realized that her Mayberry didn't quite exist the way she thought it would. And this turned into more of a Twilight Zone episode. She had people gawking at her house, stopping, peeking through the windows. She couldn't go out to dinner or to the grocery store without being constantly harassed in her mind by her adoring fans. People were constantly making jokes relating to Aunt Bee. And she actually didn't have her own personality anymore. She lived through everybody's eyes of seeing her as Aunt Bee. A visit to downtown would have all the eyes staring at her. She couldn't go to the beauty parlor without everybody inviting her to church, trying to coax her interaction in with the community. Week after week, this continued, and it just wore Frances down. And her only solace was her house, and to retreat into there and have everything delivered to her. It's a small wonder that by the 80s, the former television star was living out of her back bedroom. Her curtains were pulled tight, and she lived there with her 14 cats. She loved the companionship of them, and she actually converted a 250-foot square bathroom into a crawling litter box that was inches deep in cat litter. It's been said that when visitors and people would come to the door to deliver food, or store clerks would come, that the inside of the house, the paint was peeling. You could tell it was filthy conditions, and the atmosphere that you ran into as soon as the door was open was the smell of ammonia, which was all the cat urine. Quite the change for the sophisticated New Yorker and Hollywood actress. In 1986, after she had stopped going out in public, Andy Griffith and Ron Howard actually made a valiant attempt to get her to sign up for the Andy Griffith reunion movie, the Mayberry reunion movie that they were producing and coming up with. And she met them at the door and would not let them in, and actually talked to them through the door. Something I think that she regretted later on, and she actually called Andy a few months before she died and apologized for that and for being such a hard ass on the actual Andy Griffith show, and she felt bad about being a person that was hard to work with during that time in the 60s. When Aunt Bee died in 1989, her estate was worth about $700,000, and this was put into some type of annuity that gave bonuses, and still to this day gives bonuses to Siler City police officers. But the big thing, the big remembrance that is still running around Chatham County is a lot of her cats had gotten loose, and so it's theorized that a lot of the feral cats that are running around Siler City are actually the offspring of Aunt Bee's cats. So if you're ever in Siler City and you see a cat run across the street, it could very well be one of the children of Aunt Bee's cats. Also, her home was donated to a local hospital, and I don't know, it looks like somebody lives in it now. I'm assuming they probably sold it and used the money for some other purpose. But Aunt Bee was a person that a lot of people connected with. Everybody wanted to have the domesticated caretaker like Aunt Bee was, and she brought us many fond memories through that show. Thanks a lot, Frances Bavier, or Aunt Bee. Thank you so much for watching.